Welcome to the Explainer. Today we're taking on a pretty wild challenge, diving into Taipei's National Palace Museum. This place is an absolute treasure chest holding thousands of years of Chinese civilization. We're going to condense their classic hour-long tour into just 5 minutes. You ready? Let's do this.
I mean, seriously, how do you even begin to wrap your head around 5,000 years of art in a single afternoon? It sounds kind of impossible, right? Well, that's exactly our mission. We're going to hit the absolute highlights, the must-see masterpieces that really tell the story of an entire civilization.
So here's our game plan, our museum map, if you will. We're going to follow the museum's official route, starting way up on the 3rd floor with ancient power. Then we'll make our way down through imperial taste and some truly impossible crafts. And of course, we'll stop to see the museum's biggest celebrities along the way. Let's get going. Our first stop, the 3rd floor. This is all about ancient power. We are going way, way back in time, to an era when these objects weren't just pretty things to look at. Nope. They were tools for talking to the gods and non-negotiable symbols of a ruler's right to lead.
We're kicking things off with some of the oldest pieces in the entire museum. Over on the left, you see the jade gui. It's this ceremonial blade that basically screamed, "I'm in charge." And get this, thousands of years later, the Emperor Qianlong thought it was so cool he had 2 poems carved right on it, only he did it upside down. And on the right, we have the jade kung. This square tube was a symbol for the earth, covered in 17 layers of these super intricate patterns. These weren't just decorations, they were like a direct line to the cosmos.
From jade, we move to bronze. But again, these aren't just fancy bowls for ceremonies. The ancient Chinese used them like history books, casting records of huge events and royal decrees right into the metal. I mean, talk about a permanent record.
And that brings us to our next piece, which is all about this number, 500. Just 500. What in the world could that mean for a bronze pot that's thousands of years old?
Well, that's how many characters are inscribed inside this masterpiece, the Mao Gong Ding. It's the longest inscription ever found on an ancient Chinese bronze. It's basically a royal memo, frozen in time from a king to his trusted minister. It starts, "I, the king, state the following. Father Yin, you have been a great and good minister." Just imagine, a record of trust and duty preserved for 3,000 years.
All right, we've seen history written in metal. Now it's time for the main event. Welcome to what I like to call a most famous feast, because we are about to meet the museum's biggest rock stars. On the left, you've got the jadeite cabbage. It's thought to have been a wedding gift for an imperial consort. The white part symbolizes her purity, the green leaves mean fertility, and you gotta look close. See those tiny insects? They're a wish for lots of children. Then, on the right, we have something totally different. The meat-shaped stone. Yes, it's a rock that looks exactly like a piece of stewed pork belly. But the real magic is what the artist did. They dyed the skin to make it look like it was cooked in soy sauce, and even drilled tiny holes to look like pores. It's an incredible trick of the eye. Okay, time to head downstairs to the 2nd floor, where the whole vibe changes. We're stepping into the world of imperial taste, looking at the absolute best of the best when it comes to Chinese ceramics. And we'll start with this little guy, the Dingware infant pillow. There are only 3 like it in the entire world, and this one's considered the most beautiful. It's super charming, but here's the fun part. It's got a little secret. There's a small clay ball sealed inside, so if you were to move it, it would actually rattle.
This timeline really shows you how the emperor's taste changed over hundreds of years. You start in the Song dynasty with Ruware, famous for this crazy rare, perfect sky blue glaze that was supposed to look like the sky right after a storm. Then, bam, you jump to the Ming dynasty and this tiny Dukai chicken cup. It might look small, but back in the 16th century, a pair of these was worth a fortune, like a whole estate. And finally, you get to the Qing dynasty and this piece of pure technical wizardry, the revolving vase.
So what is a revolving vase? Oh, it's just pure genius. It's actually 2 vases, one nestled inside the other. The outer vase has these decorative cutouts, so when you gently turn the neck, the inner vase spins, and the fish painted on it look like they're swimming past the windows. It's basically an 18th century porcelain movie projector. Absolutely mind-blowing stuff.
And now for our final stop, the 1st floor. This is where we find what I can only call impossible crafts. Seriously, these are masterpieces so ingenious, so detailed, they just shouldn't be possible.
So our first impossible object is all about the number 18.
That's how many layers, how many separate spheres are carved inside this single object from one solid piece of ivory. And here's the kicker. Each one moves freely, completely independent of the others. So how? How is that even possible? The technique was so hard they called it devil's work.
Okay, so the process is just as wild as the final product. You start with one solid ball of ivory. Then you drill these cone-shaped holes toward the center from all different angles. After that, you stick these special L-shaped tools inside and, with unbelievable precision, carefully cut and separate each layer one by one. And only then do you start carving the patterns on each sphere, working from the inside out. The patience and skill are just staggering.
Okay, next up we have what is basically a sculpture made of puns. This is the Coral Ku Xing, the god of examinations. Literally every part of this thing is a visual play on words for someone hoping to pass the super tough imperial exams. He's standing on a dragonfish, a pun for being the champion. He's kicking the Big Dipper, another pun for success. The branch he's holding is a pun for being first among peers, and those bats flying around, a classic symbol for good fortune. It's the ultimate good luck charm.
And for our grand finale, we've got something really special. I want you to think of it as an emperor's personal museum, but shrunk down and packed into one single incredible box.
This is the Emperor's Curio Box, or Dua Baoge. It's this amazing 16th century cabinet filled with tiny drawers and secret compartments, all designed to hold a world of treasures. I mean, look at this list. You've got 41 pieces of jade, dozens of writing tools, tiny paintings, even European clocks. All in all, 109 precious items tucked away inside. It's the ultimate collector's item.
So we've gone from the third floor all the way down. We've seen so much. What's the big takeaway here? It's that all these treasures are way more than just art. They are, quite literally, history you can hold.
Well, what we've seen is that this stuff, it's not just pretty art. These objects tell incredible stories of power, of faith, of what it was like to live hundreds or thousands of years ago. We saw how the tastes of emperors drove creativity and pushed craftsmanship to the absolute limits of what's possible. These aren't just artifacts in a glass case. They're history itself, something you can actually see and almost touch.
And all of this leaves us with one last thought. As you look at these amazing things that have survived for so long, it really makes you think, doesn't it? What object from our world today would tell the most interesting story about us 5,000 years from now?
That's all for this Explainer. Thanks for joining me on the tour.